Today we have my bike setup guide or tutorial video in Supercross 5. Before I get into my setup, I just want to say that in Supercross 5 the bike setup really honestly does not matter at all. The only thing you really want to be worrying about is the gear ratio depending on which bike you are riding, because some bikes react differently to the gear ratio. For instance, the KTM and the Suzuki are completely different bikes, and the KTM and Kawasaki again are completely different bikes. For my fast lap video that I did a few days ago, I could get the same lap time on a stock setup. I just kept on making slight mistakes that were my own doing. I didn't really care for the bike setup at all. In these games, I really do think that it's all kind of in your head when you put on a bike setup and you think it's going to make you a lot faster, but in reality, it just doesn't. It's not like the simulator racing games where a setup actually does make a difference. It does kind of make a very slight difference in Supercross 5, but it is not really noticeable at all. The only really difference I find that you can tell is one bike setup may turn very slightly better, but at the same time, the bike kind of gets a bit more sketchy around the track. Then the complete opposite setup, the bike seems a bit more heavy in the corners, but not by much. It's so hard to notice. And then again, the bike isn't as crazy on the track and it's a bit more easy to control. But again, you really do not notice it at all. So for anyone thinking a bike setup is gonna make you go 2-3 seconds quicker, it just simply will not. The main thing that will get you quicker in this game is skill, practice. That's basically it. That's the easiest way I can put it. Practice and skill, and there's really nothing much to it. A bike setup may get you a few tenths for a super fast lap, but then again, you're sacrificing a tiny bit of bike control. You think you need a bike setup to set a very quick lap time or win online races or whatever, but you just don't. It's all in your head, because again, the bike setup will really only improve your lap times by about a few tenths, especially if you're already pretty good at the game. A bike setup will not help you out that much. My opinion, the bike setup, do not really worry about it too much. Anyways, I did focus on a couple tracks for a couple hours making a setup, and I mainly focus on the KTM 450 because that's the bike I'm kind of riding right now, so wanted to make a good setup for it, and I did test it out on the Kawasaki. It also seemed to work pretty well for that bike compared to the default setup, and also for the Suzuki. Here's my bike setup. Some of the bars are all the way down and some of the bars are all the way up. As you can see, the bars will say lowering it will increase the bike stability and raising it can increase the bike's responsiveness. And the gear ratio, I stick with medium for the KTM. Certain bikes, like the Suzuki, I run short, but KTM and most of the other bikes I run medium. So this is kind of my agile setup where the bike turns a little bit better, but at the same time is a bit more on the edge. And then here I'm just kind of changing everything to be the complete opposite, just so that you can see the more stable setup, but at the same time you lose a tiny bit of agility. And again, I run medium transmission for the KTM and most of the other bikes except the Suzuki. You can try messing around with each different bar, lowering it a little bit or raising it all the way, etc. I played with each bar at once and kind of did a few laps on a track and then did the same thing repeat a million times. It got pretty repetitive, but that's kind of how you have to find a good bike setup, play with it a bunch, and that's what I came up with. It seemed like it made the bike turn a little better. It seemed to work pretty good for me. This setup may not work for everybody. You may find it to be horrible, or you may find it to work wonders for you, or you may find it do nothing. And for me, I noticed a very small cock hair of a difference. So that's my bike setup guide and my bike setup in Supercross 5. Again, you just don't need a bike setup in this game. Just practice, and that's pretty much all you need to do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and take care.